As a volunteer on a rep panel, I am 1 to 3 volunteers who will sit on a panel along with a representative, and sometimes more than one representative from the Restorative Justice Center. So here's what we do. I show up for a panel. I sit with the other volunteers and the client comes in. Some of my panels have gone as long as 10 sessions. It's an hour-long appointment. We sit in a nice private room at the Justice Center. Sometimes we will meet on Zoom, particularly if it's hard for a client to physically get to the Justice Center. We have conversations. We typically begin with some kind of icebreaker just to really kind of grease the skids of relationship here. I mean, the person who comes in, they don't know me from Adam. I don't know them. The panelists often don't even know each other. Sometimes you'll run into somebody who you were on a panel before, and you're like, oh yeah, hey. So we spend a little time just getting to know each other because we're creating this little container, this little community. So it's discussion-based. We chat. First, we listen to their story. What happened from your perspective? Why did this happen from your perspective? And just listen and witness and ask questions. Sometimes we'll ask questions to maybe take the person a little deeper, like, that's interesting. Can you see if that might have gone differently somehow? What else might you have done? So it's a kind of a dance, a conversational deepening with the client in sort of understanding and nuance about what happened. Because often when it first comes in, it's quite cut and dry in their mind. So that's the first step, is to just listen and hear their story. The second step is to start to explore with them their sense of accountability. So it takes a while sometimes through conversation and listening, that's all it is, to start to ask questions that maybe probe, okay, so what was your part in this then? Where did you make a choice? So we work on accountability. We work on sort of expanding the circle with them of how they can see how this caused a harm. Yeah, I remember when I trained for the Justice Panel, we were given a case of a mom who had stolen diapers from the Walmart. And she was poor and she felt like she had no choice and she felt like there was no harm that was caused. She was like, it's Walmart, they don't miss the diapers. And I remember thinking, wow, that's hard. I kind of agree. The mom needed the diapers. But we do go through this process with people, even though there may be a part of you that's empathetic, of, all right, so who was harmed? Well, my sister had to drive me to the court case. She had to miss work. Well, my mom was really upset because she was sick and now she had to worry about me too. And eventually, as that circle expands, I think often you'll see a client, these kind of bells going off for them of like, oh, I really hadn't thought of that. And then we work to make amends. How can you make amends with people who you understand as having harmed? And how can you make amends with yourself? I think a lot of the times I feel like there's a really deep need for the client to forgive themselves as well. Because society, the system, the community has really, laid down this judgment. You're a criminal. You're an outsider. You're not part of us. You hurt us. And that's hard to overcome. And so we work with them to make amends. And making amends can be a letter, may or may not be read ever by the victim of the harm or the offended party. That's their choice. That's always their choice. I had one client about a month ago who made a playlist. She wasn't a writer. She wasn't someone who wanted to write. She wanted to crochet a blanket, and while she was crocheting the blanket, she wanted to be thinking of the hurt party the whole time that she was crocheting. And she wanted to make a playlist because those were the things that spoke to her and that felt to her like it could really take her through the process of making amends. I think most often it's a letter, but I thought that was so cool that this person was really bringing herself into the work. There's this tremendous energy of care, of mutual care, particularly among the panelists. And I'm always blown away by how often a fellow panelist will look at the person who's struggling and say, I think you're doing so well. I think what you're doing is so hard. And you just feel this upwelling, literally in the room and among the panelists of like, yeah, we all feel that. So I think a primary thing that's gained is an experience of community for all of us. For the panelists, it's deep, it's profound. And for the client as well, in the best of circumstances. I think sometimes I felt like they came in and they're a little bit like, yeah, you're not going to tell these people what they want to hear. And there's a period of time where they're trying to figure that out. They're trying to suss the system because that's what they've had to do to survive, you know. And it's really interesting. I don't know if I can ever pinpoint like when that turns, but I felt it happen. Not in every panel, but in a number of them where there's like this turn and it stops being that for the client. It stops being like, I gotta check some boxes here, and starts being like, I hear these people saying that I matter. It's really, I feel like it's just, there's the presence of something greater among us. That's this deep desire to heal because we're all broken in this system.